Hello, everyone. I'm Ione Butler, and I'm the founder of Uplifting Content. And today I have a very special guest for you. Her name is Dr. Athena Perrakis. She is the CEO and founder of Sage Goddess. And I would love for her to, well, first of all, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
The invitation, Ione. I've been looking forward to our conversation. So thank you so much for having me today.
My pleasure. And me too. I can't wait to kind of pick your brains. I really like to start just by asking people to introduce themselves. So to share a bit about you and what Sage Goddess is, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's funny. I founded Sage Goddess about almost 6.5 years ago. And I didn't really know what I was founding at the time, but I think a lot of entrepreneurs actually say that. So when I think about what is Sage Goddess, it's exciting to me because what it is today isn't what I thought it would be when I began. So Sage Goddess was created as an oasis for women. Basically, our primary mission is to support women, but really to support everyone. We originally had a very female focus when we started, and now we have a lot of men in our community too, and a lot of people who identify in other ways as well. So we're very inclusive in the way we approach metaphysical work, but we are really about the divine feminine, however that shows up for men or women or anyone who's working with feminine energy. And we're here to help people improve their lives. We're here to provide tools and education, emotional support, for people who are going through all different kinds of processes and stages and challenges in their life. We're here to uplift them, which is much like the work that you do, because we think that there need to be bright spots in the world where you can go and just receive. It's like filling your cup or filling your well. And so that is our mission. And the way we do that is through classes, through education, through tools, of course, like crystals and gemstones and candles, and through community. By building online family is important to us as well.
That's so beautiful. And we're so aligned. I love it. Just hearing you say that, I was like, yes, that's what we're all about.
We need it. Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to go off track for 1 second because you touched on the feminine energy. And we have Uplifting Content Summit, which is a free speaker summit. We're about just over halfway through. And a few weeks ago, I spoke with Jenna Phillips-Ballard for the summit, and she talked about, her interview's gone now, which is a shame, but she talked about feminine energy as well. And I would love for you just to explain what that means a little bit more for my own benefit as well as everyone else, because you can have feminine energy for men as well as women.
You sure can.
Yeah.
And when men are able to work with feminine energy well, there's nothing more beautiful, in my opinion. And I'm finding that men are really stepping forward and wanting to claim the divine feminine as part of their own masculine empowerment. Integration is my goal. I think if you can integrate all the parts of your life, the personal and the professional, the spiritual and the practical, the masculine and the feminine, if you can integrate all of those things, that is the path to wellness and happiness. And so I think when we talk about feminine energy, we're talking about one part of a whole, but we are talking about the idea of the goddess, which, early civilizations were matriarchal. Was not foreign. And in fact, feminine leadership is more foreign today than it's ever been in the history of our planet. And so a lot of us are sort of craving a return to those times when women not only felt powerful, but were powerful, held formal official positions of power and authority. But you don't have to have power or authority to be divinely feminine. You don't have to govern people or run organizations. You can bring feminine power and energy to your family. You can bring it to your community. There isn't a space on our planet that doesn't need the nurturing, compassionate, loving, selfless to a certain extent. The selflessness, because we see so much ego in the world, bringing that well of selfless energy that is just about divine compassion and connection between human beings, which what to me is really the divine feminine. And also teaching people that it's okay to be soft. Softness isn't weakness. Softness can actually be huge strength. And so how do we think about what strength is? How do we think about what good leadership is? We've got some models that are starting to seem a little outdated. And so I think bringing that divine feminine back in with a nurturing, compassionate lens is really important for our human evolution, not just our evolution,
Yeah, and touching on the point that you made before, as you explained to me, those feminine energies, compassion, kindness, nurturing, loving, in a man, that to me would be the most amazing thing in the world. I would love that in a man.
That's the man lottery. I mean, if you find a man that's able to fully show up in the most compassionate, nurturing, way. And we think of water energies as being feminine energies, right? We think of the moon as being a feminine planet. We think of the oceans as being our grandmothers. And so if you ever want to really understand what feminine energy is, it's water, it's movement, it's flow, it's letting go, it's surrender, it's all of those things. A lot of times the masculine is about control and linearity, you know what I mean? And you know, if you can find a way to integrate those two, you have the most incredible partnership, either in another person or within yourself. Really cool, right? To be that for yourself too.
Incredible. Thank you. One of the questions I was super pumped about asking you is basically, so you started this in your living room. It was you and your husband, and now it's grown into this fantastic organization and business. And I'm in the very early stages with Uplifting Content, and there's just so many things and moving parts, and it's like, oh. And so I would love to hear from you, sort of how was the process of growing your business, and what would you offer advice to someone like me or anybody that is kind of starting with something like this?
You know, I think the funny part about Sage Goddess is I didn't think I was creating a business. It started with a sage bundle. It started with this. Very humble beginning, but it started just with me wanting to tell people about something I believed in, and then it started to be energy around sort of a broader mission to understand relationship to the elements, to the moon, to ceremony, to ritual in your life. And so the growth for us, and those early days were both really difficult and really beautiful, right? I'm so lucky to have a life partner. When he saw my passion, looked at me and said, yes, I want to see you explore that. I want to see you live into that. So huge blessing for me. And we look back at those times now and we cherish them because I think they really deepened our relationship. A lot of people say, how can you work with your husband? You know, or how could you have started something with your husband? Don't you guys fight all the time? And it's interesting because no, in fact, it's quite the opposite. Seeing his love for me manifested in his support for what I'm so passionate about deepened our relationship in ways I could never have imagined. So that's really a beautiful thing to think about, especially for women who want to get something going and thinking about how would I work with this in partnership. It could actually really be a source of depth and connection for your partner too. But you know, our growth really was very organic. And I think it's partly because we didn't set out to grow a company. We set out to see how many people we can reach with the tools that we believe can help and heal them. The process is so organic that sometimes people want like tips and tricks. And I look back and I think we learn by doing and by making mistakes, you know, because you are going to make mistakes. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have to experiment because we're trailblazers, right? Like we rarely have somebody out ahead of us who really can say, here are the 5 things you have to do.
Yeah.
And even if you did, you're an entrepreneur, right? You would probably say, well, but let me try my own way.
Totally. I think the question's more because I definitely get what you're saying. Like yours has grown organically, and as it's grown, you sort of figured it out and how to grow and how to build on that. It was interesting. I'm going to digress quickly. I was at the Oregon Eclipse Festival in Oregon recently, and they're normally the company that do it, Symbiosis. They have like, I don't know, 10,000 people or something, and then for the eclipse, they had this mega festival, so it was like 50,000 people, and it was just the organization was awful, but it's because they've gone from a 10,000 people event to a 50,000 people event. And then I look at things like Burning Man, which is another festival that I usually go to, which is 70,000 people, but they've grown over, 30 some years. And as it gets bigger, they've grown it. So you learn as you grow, which I feel is what you're saying here. And I think that's kind of where I'm at maybe is that it's what it is. And then I have so many ideas and so many things to work on that it's like, so slightly different.
And I believe in the law of attraction too, so I believe that if you have an intention in mind, that for example with your beautiful platform, which I believe needs to be expanded to reach more people, if you have this brilliant concept and you know in your heart that it's true to your soul purpose, I believe in setting intentions at the new moon for growth. And always asking for growth in alignment with the highest collective good, right? So what does it look like for you, Ione, to grow uplifting content? And what does it mean for you to grow it in service of the collective consciousness of our planet? But I do believe it's possible to say, I want to set an intention to heal our world, to heal our universe. And then I would say is, buckle up. If you really do set an intention like that, the universe, if you're doing deep sacred work, is going to honor that with a yes. And then you have to be prepared. And then I think, creating infrastructure too is important because to your point, as people grow sometimes, it can get messy and sloppy and almost fall apart if they're not creating that, you know, that deep infrastructure to support the work. So one of the things we've always done is we've tried to make sure that we have at least enough staff for where we are, but usually enough staff to support where we want to go. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of not hiring enough people to support them, which ends up leading to bad customer experiences, bad staff experiences. And so what we try to do as much as possible is invest in the future. But in the early days, we couldn't do that because we were entirely self-funded. I mean, we never had, you know, angel investing or anything like that. This was bare bones from the very beginning. But as we grew, we decided to invest for the future to make sure that everybody feels supported and they're having a good experience too. Yeah,
that's actually very helpful. I'm in that stage right now of, it's gone from a team of like 1.5 to a team of sort of 4 and 5 and growing right now. And that is important. And that's great advice, actually. Just be right now investing, putting everything straight back into getting stuff in place. I love that. Thank you. I'm learning so much from people. I just absolutely love this. This is great.
A lot of us want to see you grow too. You know, it's like, and I really believe that when you're doing work like you're doing, your growth and your success is critical to my growth and my success, because I think all of us who are trying to raise consciousness on our planet are doing it together. I don't think you're doing it alone. I don't think I'm doing it alone. We haven't met each other. We're in this huge spiritual network of people who are trying to create this creative light across our planet. So, cheers to you for doing your beautiful part in it too.
Thank you. And you for yours. And it's just so funny you say that. Like, the more I do this, the more I speak to people. I'm speaking to people every day. And it's true. Like, it's a movement. There's so many of us. I'm going to an event in a few weeks, and it's people from sort of all the big pages, like similar to mine, kind of working together. Like, how can we do this? And I speak to people like you and all these influencers. And it just makes me so happy to know that there's so many people that are working for the common goal of raising consciousness, of uplifting humanity, of helping each other. Like, it's such an exciting time. And I'm like, yes.
Yes. And even in tragic circumstances like Hurricane Harvey, you know, you see the power
good in humanity. Yeah.
Right. I mean, we are surrounding each other with love, and it's beautiful to witness, you know. So
true. So one of the other questions I had was about the eclipse, because it was the first time I'd seen a full solar eclipse. It was, I mean, I don't even know. I was just in awe of the whole thing. It was so beautiful and just magical. I didn't really know in the ins and outs of it. And it's a shame that we couldn't speak beforehand, because it would have been great to go with all your wisdom. But it just wasn't enough time to get it on the schedule. So yeah, I'd love to chat about your thoughts on it, what you did, your experience at the eclipse.
Yeah, totally. I wasn't in the path of totality like you were. You were fortunate to be in that path. And it's one of the only times where the path of totality really was just the continental United States. You know what I mean? So we won't have that opportunity again for some time, but we're still feeling the eclipse. This eclipse is one of the most intense experiences for people, because the eclipse happened in Leo, as did the eclipse the month before, right? Because eclipses always come in these bookends, and that's all about leadership, and that's all about presence in the world. And so it has created a well of energy for people to draw from. But remember that eclipses always reveal to you what you don't know. And so what I'm inviting people to do now, in hindsight, even though we're only a week out, is to look back at the last month and ask yourself, what did I learn about people, places, situations in my life this last month that I didn't know before? And in some cases, it's beautiful revelations, right? It's revelations about how much deeper your relationship is than you thought it was, or revelations about, you know, how much, you know, a parent telling their child how much they love them when they haven't heard that before. Then there are challenging revelations too, like maybe finding out that someone you love isn't well. You know, that's been coming up around people in our community as I listen to these stories. But it's always information you need. The eclipses give you don't know, but it gives it to you so that you can act upon it. So I don't know if you've had that experience with.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned so much. I'm learning so much. Yeah, I mean, I was having revelations yesterday about like negotiations and like business stuff and how to find the right stuff, and like revelations about myself. You know, I'm watching the videos from the Uplifting Content Summit that I mentioned earlier. I interviewed the women and Adam interviewed the men. So I hadn't seen those interviews. And so watching some of those interviews, just blowing my mind with the knowledge that has come from that. So there's been a lot of things. Yeah, definitely a lot of things that have come up since. Yeah.
I love that you see yourself as a teacher and a student in this role. Do you know, like that you're
Right.
as much from the people that you interview, because that is the beauty, right? And if we can start to see ourselves as both teachers and students, I learn as much as I teach every day. So
Yeah.
it's cool to see you reflect on that too. I think that makes you a source of huge inspiration for so many people.
Totally. And I feel like I don't even feel oftentimes like a teacher. I had somebody say to me, we should look into getting you speaking engagements. And I was like, oh, no, I can't be a speaker. And then we carried on talking for a bit. And she said, why? Just out of curiosity, what's your resistance to being a speaker? And I was like, I don't know. And I think it was because I just thought, who am I to tell anybody or to, talk about anything? And she was like, I'm not really an influencer. I've not got really. She was like, you speak to people every day through your page. You've got something to say. And so that was a really interesting revelation. But yeah, I think I never think that I've arrived with knowing everything. And so that's why I love like just things like this. This is just valuable information. Love it. What I also really like about what you're doing is your fantastic community. And that's something that I'm working on with Uplifting Content. We've got a Facebook group, the Uplifting Community Group, and we're going to incorporate that into our website as well that's coming, because I think it's so important to, for it just not to be like a fate, for people to get engaged and involved. And I would love you to tell me about your community, what you do, how you grew it, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a hybrid community. Half of our community is in public groups that anyone can join. And then half of our community is in private groups that are attached to my online courses. So I teach a course in gemstones, a course in aromatherapy, a course in magic and ritual. And then I have a program called the Holistic Healer Program for people who finish all three. They get a certification at the end of the year. And so it's interesting because there is crossover. So a lot of people will come into one of the open public groups, find out that there are classes, and then move into the private groups. Those are a little smaller and more intimate. So sort of like different flavors of engagement. The big groups are fun and exciting because the feed just goes a mile a minute. People are posting from all over the world. And when it's someone's birthday, it's almost like a birthday party in the group,
I love it.
It's adorable, and people send each other gifts, sometimes through me, like they'll buy something from Sage Goddess and have me send it to.
That's amazing.
We have members of the month. We have, lots of giveaways. And so, because I like to be in exciting environments, I get bored really easily. I think that's very common, by the way, among entrepreneurs. We get bored easily. And so I constantly like to have something new. Plus there's education happening in the groups. Like I will create a meme around a concept that I'm teaching, and then, ask for comments about how does this impact you, or have you had that experience? And then when people share, they start to build friendships, they start private messaging each other, they become friends. And so the community just does this sort of like lattice work thing. And for me, it's really beautiful to witness because I've seen the power of community to change lives, and the fact that we can do it virtually. In a way, when you really think about it, it's miraculous what we can do virtually to reach people.
It really is. And one of the things that I see, Kevin, who works on the team, and myself often talk a lot about depression because it's something both of us experience, and that's how we connected in the first place. And so we often talk about depression, and from that we get lots of comments and lots of messages and people that kind of need help. And so we have this community, and I would love for it to grow into what you have, which is people, and it's starting to become that. It's still very early stages of people reaching out and offering to help and, being support for each other. I just love it. And so, yeah.
And around common themes like that, depression and anxiety are the two main reasons people find me. They're either, they're feeling depressed about what's happening in their life, or they're having severe anxiety that they feel is preventing them from living their fullest life and achieving their goals. Crystals and aromatherapy are huge sources of support for both of those things. And so that's one of the primary ways people find me. But I think when you create community, I think there's two secrets. First of all, it has to be a community around something that you love, because your community will be a blessing to you and it will be a challenge to you. Managing big community is not easy. And then the other thing is you have to make sure that you are providing something of value to people around maybe a common experience, a common emotion, but you have to reach people at the level of their humanity for them to feel like they really want to be engaged. But people want to be part of something that's bigger than them. It's like we all want to believe that there is a mountain ahead of us, a bigger mountain of hope and possibility. And I think if you can shine that light and do it in a really authentic way, the growth just happens organically.
Yeah, yes. There's so many things to think about. I wish I was taking notes. I can watch it back. It's fine. So you've built a very, very successful business, and you have products and service of value, and your courses and everything. All of that is of value. And so somebody watching it might think, oh, that's great. Like, yeah, you've been lucky, or whatever they might think. But I know what it takes to sort of go into growing something like this, and I'd love to find out about maybe some of the challenges you faced with the business, or with personally, like dealing with all of this stuff, and how you've overcome them.
Oh yeah, no, do I believe in luck? I think I believe in fortune. I do believe that in the ancient sense, that if you set a goal and you work hard toward it, I do believe that there are spirits that guide you to help you manifest that. So I don't know that I believe in blind luck.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that when you put your energy and your essence behind something, I think you're divinely supported, especially if it's in service of the collective good, truly. But I think one of the most important things for people to keep in mind is at different points in your business and in your process, you're going to be challenged by different things. My Sage Goddess was actually born out of a challenge. I actually experienced a health crisis, and I was in corporate America. And my husband and I looked at each other, and he said, to me, and I said to him, this has been a wake-up call. I don't love what I'm doing. It is not feeding my soul. Will you support me as I try to create something in the world that has my fingerprint and speaks to my spirit? And so sometimes a crisis or a challenge can actually lead you to get brave enough to follow a goal that maybe you wouldn't have been brave enough to follow if that hadn't happened. And then I've been able to sort of support my own healing through the process of creating this. And so, and part of that's authenticity. My community knows that I've experienced challenges, and they've seen me rise and go through them. Sometimes when you have huge communities, you'll have trolls and groups, and managing that and managing difficult conversations and doing it with grace, that's a challenge. We originally, go ahead, were you going to ask a question about that?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I'm starting to notice that on Facebook, and I'm having somebody start to monitor that, because some of the comments are it brings down everything that's the tone of the page. And so I want to know what's the best thing to do. Sometimes I just delete the comment and ban the person. Is that the best way? I think that's the best way. Because
I'm of two minds about it, Ione, because on the one hand, I agree with you, and particularly if it's something that is offensive to people, is going to trigger people, because you have to think not only about how you're going to receive it, but is it going to upset someone else? I almost think of myself as like a den mother of these communities, and I don't want anybody getting their feelings hurt. And a lot of times, if it's anything negative about me, my community will sort of rally to my side too, which is really beautiful, because they've been with me for a long time. But I'm a teacher at heart. And so the other way I feel about this is, can I teach them? I always think of myself as a mirror, right? Like, all I'm doing is showing you. Yeah. And if what you see is beautiful in me, it's really not me, it's you. If what you see is threatening in me, I'm triggering something in you that you need to look at. And so some of my proudest moments, honestly, online have been when I responded. And I choose those moments really carefully, but they're in cases where I think this isn't just somebody being egregious. This is somebody who actually is hurting.
I think they're all hurting when I see some of the comments. For somebody to say those things, but
because hurt people hurt people. You know what I mean? It's loving people love people. It literally is as simple as that. So when I see somebody who's in a state of anger, what I know is underneath that is a state of really deep pain. And that's where sometimes I think I can come in as a teacher. And then also set a good example, because I know I am a leader in my community. I wanted to set an example of what love looks like with boundaries, because I do want to demand respect. These are my communities, my places, but I also want to love and teach people and hold space of compassion at the same time. That is not easy, but sometimes I think it's the call, of those who are more awake and more conscious.
Yeah, I think for now, I don't have the mental capacity or energy to deal with it. And I can't really, at some point I'll probably train somebody in the team to do that. So I think for now I'll remove, or maybe just remove. I don't need to ban them, just remove the comments. And then when I am in a space, I definitely want to engage more with people that kind of respond that way, because I don't want people hurting like that. So yeah.
And you use your discernment, right? Like you can tell when a comment is just negative versus a comment is somebody who's in a place of inquiry and pain, and probably is really ready for transformation and may just need the right word. And I've had plenty of those cases, which is why my heart is still open. You know what I mean? But I think when you're a teacher or a leader, you don't get the privilege of saying, I'm only going to teach these people, or I'm only going to lead those people. Sometimes you get that privilege, but in a spiritual context, we don't. And so I do see myself as someone who has to learn how to be chameleon-like in that way and be able to meet you where you are, because ultimately I'd like for you to be where I am, but sometimes there's a chasm between here and there, you know, and like help you bridge that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, it's like everybody's at a different level of consciousness, and I just feel like it's just slowly helping people raise at their individual levels. And so, with uplifting content, I think it's kind of we're at the most people thing. I think, you know, you've got some spiritual people that are very advanced. You know, whatever. I could go off on a tangent. What's your vision for Sage Goddess?
That's a great question. I just started planning my curriculum for 2018, and I'm really excited about it. I can't say too much about it right now, but it's you know, every year, because most of my students stay with me year after year after year, I'm constantly challenging myself to create new curricula that are going to keep them engaged. And so one of our main growth plans for the next 18 months at least is to we have books that will be published in that time, and then we want to build out the class platform. And so we're looking at how to do that, getting a lot of feedback from the community, you know, like, what are you looking for? People love the live. All of my classes are live, and I think people are really excited about that because there's Q&A and live dialogue. And then looking also at community too. How does our community need to grow and evolve, and connecting even more closely with the things that I'm teaching? Because in the Sage Goddess world, the teaching is the work. You know, the products are things that I teach about. And so the teaching is really the core of everything that we're doing, and our growth for the next 18 months, I think, will come out of that.
Fantastic. Very exciting times.
Yeah, it is. It's very exciting. You know, I stay excited every year because to me, it's constantly fresh. It's constantly interesting. We get, you know, emails each day. There's a new mine. They just discovered a new stone. You know, our essential oil company is going to distill something that hasn't been distilled before. So there's constantly all of these new places and spaces to explore. And then I get excited about sharing that with people. And feel the authenticity of that too, hopefully. Yeah.
Fabulous. So coming up on September 22nd, there's an autumnal equinox. Can you talk about that and what we can anticipate and prepare for it?
Can you repeat that? You cut out for just a second right before you asked me to talk about it.
No problem. So on September 22nd, there's the autumnal equinox.
Yes.
I would love for you to tell us a bit about it, your thoughts on it, and how we can prepare for it.
Yes, absolutely. We're actually having live online ritual that night on September 22nd. Yeah, it's our first ever live virtual Mabon ritual or fall equinox ritual.
On Facebook?
On Facebook.
Okay, let's see if we can do this. I'm curious, and then maybe I can share it on Uplifting Content as well, because I'm intrigued now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's exciting because what this holiday represents is balance. You know, I always like to say so many of us feel guilty because we think everybody else has balance, but we don't. The reality is nature has balance literally for a few minutes twice a year at the equinox points. For the rest of the year, nature's out of balance. She's either all the way in light and summer, or she's all the way in dark and winter. And so what we do at the fall equinox is we celebrate balance, and we talk about what alignment and balance looks like for you in your life. And again, it almost, you know, it's interesting, Ione, it goes back to the early part of our conversation talking about, you know, your light and your darkness, right? Your personal life, your professional life, your spiritual life, your non-spiritual life. And how do you find a way to negotiate the balance of those and to integrate all that you are, the different pieces of you, into one identity that you can grow into? And so that's what we're going to be doing at that ritual, is kind of doing a guided meditation to explore what your inner balance looks like, and asking spirit guides to show you places where you're out of balance so that you can address those. Yeah.
That sounds fabulous. Let's talk afterwards about how to get that set up, because I think that would be really valuable for the Uplifting Content community as well, and me.
Well, I'm excited to know that you'll be there.
Yeah.
Very excited about that, and we'll look forward to connecting afterward, maybe to debrief and see what, you know, came up for you around that. And it's interesting because it's such a reassurance to people. You don't have to be in balance all the time. Nature herself is not.
Okay.
We're like this permission slip to be out of balance a little bit. and to stop, judging yourself and criticizing yourself for thinking that you aren't doing what you should be doing in life.
I definitely need that. I just checked my calendar. I'm going to be at an event in Canada over that time, but I want to make this work. So we'll see what we can do. Wow. Athena, this has been such a beautiful, lovely conversation. I get really like emotional because I think I'm just really happy to speak to people like you, and because it just makes me really happy. And I'm also really happy to announce everybody that Athena has very kindly offered to give away 2 prizes to 2 of our amazing uplifting content audience. So do you just want to talk about the 2 stones? 2 people will win, and you have an option of choosing one of them. There'll be 2 winners, and you get to choose one. Here are the options.
Okay, I don't know how you'll choose. I'm sorry, everybody. They're both this is an amethyst heart from Uruguay. Amethyst brings peace and harmony and balance. This should be by your bedside. So whoever wins this, I love to have amethyst in my bedroom because it actually helps with sleep and to prevent nightmares. So if you're an insomniac, I might be swaying you to choose that one. And the other choice is this beautiful rose quartz pillar. We call these a flame because it's sort of hand carved into this flame shape. This is the stone of love. So again, this could go anywhere. Bedroom would be an obvious choice. I keep a piece in my office because rose quartz is a general love vibration. So it's not just romantic love, it's self-love, it's love for your family, it's love for your community and for the planet. So those are the 2 that we're giving away today. I'm so excited.
Fantastic. You're amazing. So we're running this competition for a month. So it will be from today all the way through to the end of the month. And we'll be announcing the winners on the 1st of what's next month, October. Where am I? I'm going to put a link in this video description. So you can just click the link and sign up. And then, at the end of the month, we'll choose 2 winners and you can decide which beautiful stone you want. And yes, I want some. I'm going to might have a little shot myself.
I might have a little surprise for you coming from the Denver Gem Show. So my sleeve, but I have something planned for you. So
I haven't heard of this. What's the Denver Gem Show?
So that is one of the main things my community gets excited about. There are 2 international gem shows in the United States, gemstone shows, each year. And so next week I leave for Denver.
I'm going to be in Denver next week.
Are you kidding me right now?
I go to Denver tomorrow. I come back on Tuesday. When are you going to be there?
I leave Wednesday morning.
Oh, man.
I would have said we have to do dinner and I'd have to take you to the show. Maybe we can plan another time for that to happen.
Yes.
It's so exciting. If you love gemstones, it literally is, hotel after hotel spread out across the entire city of Denver. It's one of my favorite cities, so we always look forward to it. But we give away thousands of dollars worth of gemstones just in that week alone into our community groups.
Wow.
And so people get excited. What's the giveaway today? Or what is she going to show us? What new items is she buying? And I do a lot of behind the scenes interviews and I do Facebook Lives multiple times a day. So this is our big gem festival for the fall for sure.
Fantastic. Well, I hope it is a roaring success and I am excited about my surprise. I literally know nothing about this.
A little magic for you, Ione. It really is a thank you for today. It's been a beautiful time talking to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I've loved this too. Wow, Athena, thank you. Thanks for joining us. This is going to be a connection between the 2 of us moving forward, I'm sure. And so, thanks again for your time. And I look forward to spending more time with you, hopefully on the 22nd.
Me too. Yeah, keep me posted on your plans. And thank you to everyone who joined us too. It's really exciting to share this with our communities and what a fun time it was with you.
Perfect. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.